In the bustling city of San Francisco, a man named James found himself at a crossroads in life. 35 years old, working as an investment banker, he was financially successful but perpetually dissatisfied. Days flew by in a blur, and despite his achievements, he often felt as though he was living someone else's life. The time he yearned for a quiet morning, an uninterrupted evening, the chance to finish reading even a single book was always out of reach. One evening, while scrolling through an endless stream of online videos, he stumbled upon a story about a monk who lived on a secluded mountain in Tibet. This monk was known for helping people rediscover purpose and peace. Without hesitation, James decided he would go. Perhaps, he thought, this monk could help him understand why his time felt like sand slipping through his fingers. After a grueling journey involving planes, buses, and a final day-long hike, James arrived at the temple. Perched on the edge of a mountain and overlooking a serene valley, the temple exuded timelessness. The very air seemed to carry a wisdom that calmed his racing mind. He was greeted by the monk, a man whose age was indeterminate, with lines of laughter and thought etched into his face. The monk introduced himself simply as Karma. Karma led James to a simple bench under a massive, ancient tree, where they sat in silence for a while. It was as though Karma understood that words, when spoken too soon, lose their weight. After several minutes, Karma turned to James with a gentle smile. "What brings you here?" Karma asked. James spoke of his career, his stress, his constant feeling of being chased by time. "No matter what I do, there never seems to be enough time," he confessed. "I'm always rushing, always behind." Karma nodded, his eyes thoughtful. "Time, like water, flows freely," he said. "We struggle because we try to control it. Come, let me show you something." Karma led James down a winding path to a small river near the temple. They sat by the bank, watching the water rush over smooth stones, continuing on its way without hesitation, without stopping for anything. Karma dipped his hand into the water, letting it flow through his fingers. "Time is like this river, James," Karma said softly. "It moves of its own accord, and it doesn't pause or wait. When we try to grasp it, it slips away. But if we learn to flow with it, like a boat guided by the current, we move through life with ease." James watched, mesmerized, as the water continued its journey. The realization began to dawn on him. He had been fighting time, trying to control it, rather than finding a way to flow with it. Sensing James' introspective silence, Karma began a story. Once, there was an old carpenter who lived in a small village. He had spent years honing his craft, and his furniture was renowned for its quality. But he never rushed, even though customers often urged him to work faster. Instead, he worked at his own pace, attending to each piece as though it were his last. One day, a young apprentice asked him, "Master, why don't you work faster? Wouldn't you make more money?" The carpenter smiled and said, "Money is not my goal. I craft each piece as though it were for my own home. Time spent with care leaves a legacy. Rushing leaves nothing but regrets." Karma looked at James meaningfully. "You see, James, when we align with our purpose, time slows down." The carpenter wasn't chasing time. He was creating something meaningful. When you fill your time with purpose rather than urgency, you will find that life itself slows down. James nodded, understanding that much of his rush came from tasks that didn't truly matter to him. He was living someone else's definition of success. Karma took James to a quiet room within the temple and invited him to meditate. "Breathe deeply," he instructed, "and feel this moment." They sat in silence for several minutes, the world outside forgotten. James' usual thoughts, emails, meetings, deadlines were absent. All that existed was the sound of his breathing, the feel of the air, and the presence of the monk nearby. "Mindfulness," Karma began softly, breaking the silence, "is the art of fully inhabiting each moment. Most people spend their lives either regretting the past or fearing the future. But the present moment, James, is all you truly have. When you give it your full attention, time no longer becomes your enemy." Psychologists refer to this as flow, Karma explained, the state where one becomes so absorbed in an activity that time seems to disappear. When you pour yourself completely into the present, your sense of time transforms. The minutes lose their urgency because you're not trying to outrun them. For the first time, James could see how powerful the simple act of being present could be. He had spent his life dwelling on past mistakes or stressing about future tasks, but had rarely paused to live fully in the present. The next day, Karma took James to a neglected garden behind the temple. Weeds had overtaken the once beautiful plants, but here and there, resilient flowers still bloomed. Karma handed James a trowel. "Help me tend this garden," he said. For hours, they worked together, pulling weeds, tilling the soil, and nurturing the plants. By the time they were done, the garden looked vibrant and alive, a testament to patience and care. "Gardens don't grow in a day," Karma said as he surveyed their work. "You must tend to them patiently, nurturing each plant in its own time. This is how you must approach your life. Each task is a plant that requires attention. Tend to them with patience, and over time, they will blossom." James realized that his life was a garden overrun with weeds, urgent tasks that had crowded out meaningful pursuits. He needed to remove these weeds, one by one, and allow time for the seeds of purpose to grow. So over tea that evening, Karma shared what he called the paradox of time investment. Most people, James, think they must spend every moment doing something productive. But true productivity isn't about constant activity, it's about meaningful activity. If you invest your time in things that nourish your mind, body, and soul, you are never wasting it. He explained a psychological concept called the Pareto principle, or the 80-20 rule. Only 20% of your tasks will yield 80% of your results. Choose your tasks carefully, investing time in those that bring true fulfillment rather than fleeting success. Karma looked at James knowingly. Consider what you give your time to. Are you building a life of value or one of endless tasks? James felt a profound shift as he realized the hours he had spent on activities that brought little joy. Karma's advice to invest wisely in meaningful tasks offered him a new way to view his time. Karma then gifted James 3 smooth stones, each inscribed with a symbol representing the mind, body, and soul. Time management isn't just about planning your day, Karma said. It's about caring for these 3 aspects of yourself. When your mind, body, and soul are in harmony, you naturally find balance with time. Psychologists emphasize the importance of mental health, physical well-being, and spiritual peace, Karma explained. A mind cluttered with stress races against time. A body neglected withers. A soul ignored grows restless. Balance these 3, and time will become your ally. James held the stones, feeling their weight and symbolic meaning. He promised himself to devote time each day to nurturing his mind, body, and soul. As James prepared to leave, he sought Karma's final wisdom. "Remember, James," Karma said, "time is an illusion. Life is a series of moments, each one ripe with potential. The more you live fully in each moment, the more timeless your life becomes." Karma's words echoed the teachings of ancient philosophers who believed that time is a construct, a concept we impose on reality. Fulfillment, Karma explained, doesn't come from hoarding hours, but from filling each one with meaning. James left the temple with a heart full of gratitude, understanding that his journey with time had only just begun. Finale. James returned to San Francisco a changed man. He no longer saw time as his enemy, but as a river he could flow with. He learned to invest his moments meaningfully, tending to his own garden of purpose. Whenever he felt rushed or stressed, he would remember Karma's words and hold the 3 sacred stones, grounding himself in the present. In the end, he realized that time management wasn't about controlling the hours in his day. It was about choosing what mattered and living each moment as if it were eternal. And in that realization, he found a peace that neither time nor tide could ever wash away.